Hi, it's just try another video this time. I wanted to do a little tutorial type deal, basically how I would approach a problem, and just give anyone who's interested an idea of how to, approach, replicating a prop or something like that in Fusion. Of course, I'm just tackling Starfield because that's the new hotness, and hey, it's what I'm playing, and I enjoy it. So figure it's kind of obvious. I mean, there's a lot of guns in the game I'd like to do, but I chose the Solstice because it's just simple, sci-fi, and it should be a really easy print. Even though it's not something I use in the game. Now to prep it, I've already prepped it with, as you can see, profiles. So basically, I got the side profile, top profile, rear profile, front profile, and bottom profile. So basically, what I did was I just took them into the examine space in the game. I took a lot of screenshots of different angles. This is mostly so I could see all the details of the gun from different angles. But the important part is the sides. Like I used this to figure out the size. So like I did standard palm width to figure out what the size would be, and it's about 280 millimeters long. And then I just size everything from there. But then I took into image editor, Photoshop for this one, and I straightened all the images I had, removed the background, so that they would work better in the program, and take the other angles. So if I'm like, hey, what was behind there, I can figure that out. So I'm just keeping this on the side for reference, and I will start off. Now, I'm just working this from it. It's not beginner's guide so much as it's just, hey, this is where I am at, and I'm just going to let everybody watch me work kind of deal. Because truthfully, I'm not an educator. I'm not an expert at this program at all. I just trying to share what I know and give an idea of how I approach it so that others can, learn or try something else. Because honestly, there's always inspiration to be found from others, even if they're not exactly the best at describing the issue or, approaches. But there's always inspiration to be found from others' approach. So now I'm just starting with a simple sketch because that's really the best point. And I just approach the easiest areas to do, which is this. And the thing is, you also notice with these screenshots is that there's lens distortion. So you can see in the center, it's pretty much straight and up and down. But here you can start to see the inside of the grip. While with this, I'm sure the back would actually be angled a bit. So this won't be an exact model by any means. Now you can try lessening that in a game by like messing with the what am I doing? I'm sorry. Talking and forgetting. Basically, you can lessen this with like with field of vision sliders and things like that. And I did turn off a lot of the other. Yeah, I was hoping this would maybe a similar angle, but it's not. So it looks like that's another angle. So basically, I got to guess where the center about is. So just a judgment call because from what I can tell, this looks just like a flat grip. So I will go by where the trigger is and just give an general angle there. And then I will extend that sketch. That looks pretty good. So I can just do rounded cutouts for the fingers there. And just extend that into a complete sketch. Now with this, the one thing I did notice, because I spent some time looking at it, you can see this part of it is lower than this part. So it raises up right here. So I'm just going to pretend it's entirely flat here, all this height, and then I will work separately, and I will probably splice this and do a loft there to fix that once I'm done with this sketch. So let's keep working on this sketch. So a lot of this is just kind of eyeballing because we're just working from an image. Now I'm not a big I'm really bad with references, so I messed that up. Cut tool is your friend. And like, you know, using constraints and things like that. That's proper fusion, but I'm not really doing this is not exactly a model I worry about modifying a lot of things because it's more art when you get down to it. So as long as it looks good, it should be fine. It looks like we're having a slight issue there, so it must not have got that entirely straight since it is cutting it, but we'll just call that a judgment call and work with that when we get to it. Plus, it also looks like the lens caused a slight issue there. Now, I did decide that when I'm going to design this model, it's going to be, because I always try to focus on printability. I'm going to split it up into 3 sections. So there's going to be this one here, and then the white section is going to be separate with these radiators. These are going to be completely separate prints. The best part about doing it that way is I can just sit this, you know, this part on the white on the base plate. So it'll print really nice. There will be slight overhang on the handle. So that will be probably the worst printed area of the entire thing, but all the round parts should look amazing because we'll be printing vertically rather than splitting in half. Because splitting in half, it works well for flat surfaces, but once you start getting something around it, it just doesn't look very good. So let's extend this. Since all this is going to be covered, I don't care what this is going to look like, so I'm just going to just give a generic line here, and we'll work from there. So I'll extend that up, and then we'll just pretend that this goes over there. So now let's okay, let's get this. We'll just extend that. We'll cut it later. Now I did do a quick thing with the screws. I'm deciding these screws, I'm probably going to make these 7mm, so we can just use real screws. And that doesn't exactly align, so I probably just want to lower that line a little bit. So why don't I just get this so it's about dead center with the screw, and that should look really nice from a symmetry sense too. Yeah, that's about right. And let's do. Oh, I'm sorry. It's going to be an M4 screw, which have a 7mm head. I should have said that. And so we'll just extend this so we can use that as a bit of reference for the other screws. I'll just kind of eyeball this. 7mm again, and 7mm again. So it's, you see, it's not perfect, but we're going to fix that, and honestly, no one's going to notice once you actually do it. So now, since we got the screws, now we can get this kind of roundy bit. Get that to it looks pretty good. And now we are going to be kind of sloppy, but we're just going to cut, and cut, so that we can use this, because all we care about is that line there. We don't really care about that, but let's do it again. So what size was this so we're consistent? Okay, I'm just going to copy and paste that so that these are all consistently the same size, so it looks better. And we don't got one there. All right, so let's get this angle up there, spread up yet again. Get down one more time. And down here. Now I'm hoping, since we're printing it as we are, I could probably leave a cavity here so we can input the trigger, and we'll play by ear, because it's going to be interesting to try to figure that one out, because, ideally, love to do a spring-loaded trigger, because those are always fun, even just as, just a fidget toy of sorts. But we'll see, because I'd rather something that looks good than something you can play with, I guess I should say. Let me extend that. Oh yeah, I'm using extend. This is just one of those commands that so unbelievably useful when you're sketching, because then you can just kind of you don't have to have things absolutely perfect. You can just use another line as reference later. Yeah, let's just round these, because there's debate. Some people say you should round after you do it, but it depends. I mean, there's some that it's good to wait on, but for this, it's pretty much going to be a set and forget type deal. Let's just make that an even 9, so I'll just copy it up in the trigger. Yeah, so we'll get that the same. Alright, let's cut this so we can round this area out. Now this I gotta just kind of guess. Probably about 3mm, probably be a good size, and I'll do 3 over here. Alright, let's cut these. Now, are they about the same size? I'll just get a rough idea. Oop. Oh, well, that's me. My mouse isn't very good. I should buy a new one, but it's functional, so it's kind of hard to justify. All right, so let's just say it's about 22, maybe 25 with the arc. Nope. 23. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So I'm just using this line as a reference for myself, so I have points here, and just arc it up. And now we'll just do a pattern. What am I got? Where's my pattern? So just do a pattern of 2, I guess. Sorry. I'll just get this right down here. So it looks pretty good again. Boop. And then we just use the cut tool to cut that out. And let's round it up so it's nice and smooth, because since it is somewhere our fingers will go, I'll just make those all 3. So it should be pretty nice and smooth. Get this corner here. 2 looks all right. Now let's look at the reference to see what that is. Is it actually a sharp one? Did I get it down there? Oh, yeah, it looks like the clip's what the issue, but we'll just round it like normal. So just around that 2 as well. So it almost looked like it was just at a sharp angle rather than a rounded angle, but we should be all right. All right, so what I'm going to do here, what should I do? So I will take this and I will make just a 90-degree line down. And again, I'm just extending it because that makes that so much easier to make sure it gets there right. Cut that off, and now of course that doesn't exactly work, so let me try that again. So we'll just do it from the center and do it to about that point where it meets So I'll just guess right here, because as you can see, it doesn't matter what we're going to do because the lens screws things up like crazy. And ideally we'd be taking actual like studio we'll take actual mesh and using that for reference, but can't do that yet because the tools really aren't there. Believe me, I looked just for the fun of it. Because ideally, you'd be taking the mesh and you'd be like looking and be like, well, it's so distance here, so distance there. I mean, I would still remake the model because printing actual like game model meshes is a horrible idea, like just awful. But it's good for reference, so because it gives you an idea of what the scale relation to everything is. Go vertical up here again. Look at that. That worked pretty nice. It's pretty much exactly where we want it to be. All right, so cut that off. Now, for these curves, we're just going to use the inside one right here where it meets rather than this, because oh, kind of reminds me of that chemistry term. What's the isthmus there? No, I'm blanking. When you look at a vial where the water arcs down, it's been a long time since chemistry, but with lens distortion. But that's what it reminds me of. All right, so let's cut this off. Cut. So we have the holes. Now these are just screw holes, so these are actually supposed to be 4mm. So let me just throw some 4mm on there because we're going to do 4mm screws, and we won't do a tolerance on it because we want the screws to bite into the plastic, so we'll kind of force it in so they're nice and firm in there. And let's cut this off because that's not actually going to be there. Did we? Oh yeah, we still got to do this. So let's get this line so that you see this kind of rounds in, because that rounds in for the body there. So we'll have to figure that one out as we go. So I'm just going to ignore that for the moment and keep working on this, because basically what I'll do is I will make this and then I will probably just copy it down there to get a similar curve, because let me see if I get a good picture of it. Yeah, you see it kind of curves there, so we'll have to that should just be a simple cylinder, so I won't even worry about modeling that right now. We'll just add that later. We're just looking for the basic shape at the moment. So cut. It should look pretty good. Let's just extend this up, because what this body is going to merge with this. So we're just modeling them separately to make life easy. So I'm just doing some arbitrary height that it will intersect with it, just so when we extrude it, it should look pretty good. And let's get the rest of these corners around it. We'll just keep a consistent 3mm no matter where we do it. That usually works out pretty well if you keep that consistent. So we got the interior, we got the exterior. We'll keep that sharp right there, and that's going to be the plate's going to be there, so that should be okay. So is this a separate body? Okay, so I'm having an issue right here where something's not. Oh yeah, what am I thinking? Because these are. So we'll say it's about. Let's look about around here. So oh, you know what? I have it here. So if you ever need to rotate a sketch, now sketches, they seem 2D. Oh no, we can't look. If you hold shift and move your mouse, move the center mouse, you can still look in 3D. It's not always the best idea, but it gives you an idea for what we want to look for here. So you see the curve there? So let's go to where the curve is about flat. So the curve's about flat right there. So we'll just I'll cut right there. And that will be where we'll curve it down and have these two meet. So basically we'll just have these bodies separate from the get-go. And we'll combine them later. So hit left and it will lock it back in place. So now I can't do it without holding that shift again. So let's just test. Yep, complete separate bot, sketch, separate sketch. Oh, I forgot about this screw. Now, is this screw aligned with this one? Oh, yeah, there's a right click. Sorry, that's my mouse again. It's a old Razer mouse. I think it's just ready to go. So I'll just make it right about there. Yeah, again, it's not perfect to the image, but we're trying to keep symmetry in our actual model. So even if it's not absolutely perfect to it, nobody's going to notice it not being absolutely perfect, but they will notice it on your actual model if they don't line up. So it's best to keep your model consistent with itself. Now, I probably could have done a constraint here. That's probably the proper method, but I'm just kind of doing loosey-goosey really fast right now. Actually, were these holes? They were... No, they're not lined up. So let's just get these holes while we're at it, since that's going to be part of the sketch effectively. Just do some quick little things right here, because this shouldn't really hurt it. If we do it, we'll just make it 2. Since I like doing whole numbers, just makes it easier. And it's easy to remember, too, if I have to check my work later. Now, is this consistent? Nope, that is not consistent either. So we'll just have this again, or just do this. Now, if you ever played with it, probably the better method to do this is if you would do it as what's called a construction line. Construction lines are neat because they don't interfere with you extruding this at all, but you can still use these as reference effectively. And they're really nice for that. Like, I like to do that when if I have another sketch that I have to remember a part of the previous sketch, I'll project it and then I'll turn to a construction so that it doesn't interfere, but I can still use that information later. And this is graphics, so we'll figure out something with that later. I was probably going to cut it on a Cricut or something, so I'll have to design that later. Just use this as reference. And let's get these holes real quick as well. Let's see, so these ones will, yeah, let me get that a little bit lower. And yet again, I probably didn't straighten out the image absolutely perfect. But those are the differences nobody will notice except for you. I mean, especially if you did, once you get done, people are like, good job, and of course you'll see every single issue. I've been there. Actually, because those are the same and might as well keep consistency, let's just do a pattern on those ones as well. So I'll just grab that over there, make that just 2, and I gotta stop.